What's the best thing to do? To kind of maybe just ignore the problem? Or just kind of keep preaching to the choir and saying how bad things are? I mean, one of the things that a lot of religious people are good at is cursing the darkness, you know. Ain't it awful? Oh, ain't it awful? What's happened to the culture? I kind of grew up in an ain't it awful culture, and come ye out from among them. They're so bad out there, we got to get into our little group and build a moat around the church to make sure that those crazy, sick sinners come in. Well, I don't know that that's going to be real effective in changing anything, but I want you to remember that I'm talking to you because you're change agents. You're influencers. So what do? Do you just talk? Do you quit? Do you say it's so bad I can't face it? Or do we involve a lot in crisis counseling? Now, what a lot of people say is we need more therapists. We need more money for counseling. And as I mentioned to you, I am the founder in 1989 of Lifeway Inpatient Psychiatric Hospital, which was a Christ-centered psychiatric hospital, unusual in the world. Nobody else did anything like we did. And I didn't even know how unusual it was. I just thought this is the way you did it because I came from the church and I'd never run a hospital before and didn't want to do it then, but a voice came out of the blue and told me to. But let me tell you, there's not enough money in the world to do treatment of everybody, number one. Number two, you don't have to. If the church did more, that we do a lot more prevention and work. Now, I believe you need professional counselors. Let me tell you, learn from agriculture. And I was a kid. I was born in 1938. So in 1945, right after World War II, the government looked around and they said, we're in real crisis in this country. Our land is very poor. Now, my ancestors were so smart that they settled in southern Illinois, where the soil is about an inch deep, but it had a lot of trees, and it's clay right under that soil, you know. And but my ancestors were so smart they didn't want to go to central Illinois because there weren't any trees there, and they said, well, obviously nothing will grow here. So yeah, the soil there is about 10 feet deep. And the government said, there's so much poor land in America, it's all been denuded, it's washed away, and we're not getting any crops. We've got to increase the production of our crops. So one of the things they did, the government and state universities, I'm from Illinois, so University of Illinois is a land-grant university, Ohio State in this country. In 1945, the average farm, as I remember it, in southern Illinois, and all over Illinois actually, produced about 35 bushels per acre of corn. 35 bushels per acre. That's not very much. And in 2005, I looked this up and I found the average bushels per acre in Indiana and Illinois in 2005 was, what do you think? About 150 to 160. Now that is change. That is making a difference. From 45 to 2005, 60 years. To go from 35 to 40 bushels, let's say, to 150 to 160. Wow! Now this is why many of the predictions of mass starvation in people, if we just have more people, we're all going to starve, doesn't take into account that technology, there are ways to change things. And it's many people who are predicting awful things for our culture don't realize that we can make a difference. But you have to be smart about it. How did it happen? Research, education, and training. They had to research what was going to work. Now, when I was a kid, the government came in and the people came from University of Illinois and talked to the farmers and said, we need to help you put fertilizer on your land, and we need to help you do a better job. Now, most of the farmers said, I've been farming this here land for a long time, and I ain't put no white stuff on it that made it look prettier. I know more about farming than you do. Amen? Amen. So a lot of people resisted that. They didn't want to take nothing from the government and nothing from them educated people up there in Champaign or Urbana, that's for sure. So they rejected it. A lot of them did. And as one old farmer told this guy said, well, we've got all these things you can be doing. And the farmer said, I ain't doing everything I know now. Well, there are a lot of churches ain't doing everything they know now. A lot of us are not. So what they did, there were a couple of people, the Jones brothers and their brother-in-law, one of their brothers-in-law, they had some fairly medium-sized farms. They said, we'll take all the help from the government we'll get. And they started taking fertilizer from the government. Government would bring a car full of fertilizer down to Ina, Illinois, population 200, and when I was a kid, and they would hire us at about a quarter an hour, and we'd unload that fertilizer. Fertilizer bags are quite heavy. But that's how I found out what they were doing, this fertilizer. Well, over the years, the Jones brothers became the richest farmers with the biggest farms in Southern Illinois, because they were on the cutting edge. They took what worked. Not only did they take fertilizer and till that soil, put the fertilizer down there and change all that clay, which you can't grow anything out of clay, the way it was. They said, we need new soil, new seeds, and a new system. So they had the better soil, but they needed better seeds. So they started doing hybrid corn. Now, I worked for one summer for Pioneer Seed Corn. And when I was first was a kid, an ear of corn was about this long. And the kernels were tiny, and the cob was huge. You remember those days? Anybody old enough to remember when corn used to be tiny? Now, corn's this big. That did not happen by accident. That happened by building capacity. Changing the kernels, the seed corn. And what happened was that back in those days, the corn didn't grow, and if it got a little cold or got a little dry, it all died. An insect came in, ate it up. So they produced corn, that the seeds that would grow better in various climates, that would resist cold, resist heat, resist drought. So they changed the soil, now they're changing the seeds. Now your corn's this big. Whoa, and the cob's this big. It doesn't take as much corn to get 150 bushels, right? So they changed that. Then they said, we got to change the system. They came in, they said, well, you know, you've got these hills down here in Southern Illinois, a bunch of hillbillies, rednecks there. And they said, you're plowing up and down the hills because that's a lot easier to plow that way. The farmer said, well, how should we plan? They said, plow it around this way, because every time you get rain now, it washes all of your topsoil down into the Ohio and the Mississippi River. And the farmers down there in Louisiana like it because they got all your topsoil. Now, some of my farmer friends said, ain't nobody going to teach me how to plow. My daddy plowed this way. Well, they're all broke now. And the farm is gone, and they had to go get another job. But the Jones boys made lots of money, and they bought lots of expensive equipment. They changed the seed, the soil, and the system. Now, if we're going to do it better, you got to have better seeds in the church, teaching better stuff, better soil. You need to have the people there who are able to take it, and a better system, organization, programs, ministry, reaching out. Any one's not better. Now, a lot of people want better seeds, and they think about how to better preach better, and that's good. The word better, that's good. But they don't change the soil, and they don't change the other things they're doing, and they don't change the system. So if you're going to make a difference with all of these things, you got to analyze what kind of soil you have and seed you have, and plant various kinds of seed for different kinds of soil and different kinds of system. You're set up.